All right, so welcome back to the Pantera build. In this episode, I'm going to try to deal with this motor. Right from the get-go, I wasn't sure if I can even make this happen. So I'm not a Ford guy, I don't know much about the bolt patterns, but we're gonna figure this out. Numbers are numbers, math's maths, can't lie, but I came to the conclusion that I made this plastic adapter and traced out the original ZF transaxle. Then I went over to where this engine was and lined it up, and I thought I could make this work. But I didn't know much about the Godzilla engine going into this, but there are a lot of similarities between the original Cleveland that would have come out of the Pantera and the Godzilla. It is narrower than the Cleveland, but it's 2.5 inches longer. And of course you can see that this intake manifold is probably taller. And the fact that that throttle body points up at a funky angle means it's going to be like pointing up into the roof of the car or something like that. So I have to figure that one out when I get there. But maybe Holly will come on board and give me one of those cool low-rise intakes. Doubt it. I'm sure I'll end up buying that sort of stuff. Maybe even if I could, I'm not sure yet, maybe I could just flip this whole thing around and point this thing backwards and maybe make an adapter to level this thing out. That could work. I'll have to see, because I'm not sure. It looks like there's an indent on the bottom of the intake manifold for the thermostat neck. So I might not be able to flip it like 180 degrees, turn this whole intake manifold around, but maybe, don't know yet. Maybe I can just shave this down or something like that and cut it. Anyway, we'll worry about that later on. Right now, the biggest challenge is getting this transaxle to fit on that, because this whole thing I was speculating about whether this would actually work or not, and I haven't invested any real money into the engine because I'm not even sure if I can make this thing work yet. I'm not a Ford guy, like I said, and I'm trying to figure out if I can get this to work. So, because this is a modular bolt pattern, it's not exactly the same as a small block Ford, but it is similar. So you can see these dowel holes are in the same spot as these dowel holes. You can tell by looking at the motor plate there, or the separator plate, but it's lacking the other bolts that would actually bolt it in place, because on the modular bolt pattern, it's got threads on the inside. So what I'm going to end up doing is, this is a 16 mil dowel here, taking a drill bit, drilling this dowel out, and using this now as a bolt through section and not using those. That's step one. Step two is the starter. On the modular bolt pattern, it would have had a 3-bolt starter on the outside here, but if I use the ZF, then I'm back to the old school 2-bolt starter style, which is fine. I think you can just get a high torque new style starter, and that'll work fine. The Cleveland also had a 164 tooth flywheel. The Godzilla also has a 164 tooth flywheel. So I'm hoping that the starter, when it's in this position, will align fine to the Godzilla position on the ring gear, or on the flywheel at that time. So I've ordered the flywheel. I haven't ordered a clutch yet, because there's a difference apparently between a regular Mustang clutch and a Pantera clutch. Something about the weights on the outside will destroy the bell housing. So I just have to make sure, maybe I'll just get like a different style of clutch, like a center force clutch, where it doesn't have those external weights or something like that. Anyway, TBD there yet. I'm gonna get the flywheel in first. I had to track down a separator plate, and that sort of sealed the deal for me whether I can make this thing work or not. There is a problem with this thing though. This is extra lump here on the side. So that's not going to work in the case of the 2-bolt starter. This actually gets in the way. But I can tell that this, you can see my fingers sticking out there. This doesn't actually have anything to do with the oil pan, so I may end up having just to chop this block right off and get rid of it so I can actually use the 2-bolt starter. And of course, I don't think this exhaust is going to work in this position. Plus, from the other episode, you may know that I don't think those are going to work anyway. Like, these are cool, they're on there, they would be great, but I don't think they're going to work because of the way I've designed the frame in the back here to drop down. This right here might get in the way of that exhaust. But again, I won't know till I actually have the engine in the hole. I don't mind making exhaust logs, or exhaust anyway, because on the Pantera, I think the exhaust wall would come out here. It wouldn't go through here, underneath here. It would actually go over the suspension and then out the body on the back here. So that's where that's gonna have to go. So anyway, I think the first stage here to get this motor to fit. Oh yeah, and there's one other cool thing. So yeah, the first stage here is I gotta blow this ring gear off, modify the separator plate, modify the bell housing on that, and actually stick the two together. And then I can see what I'm gonna have to do for the starter, blow the exhaust off, get a starter, and then get that to work while I wait for the flywheel to come in. But check this out. So whoever took this thing apart took the pilot bearing out of the crank from the Cleveland and just wired it to the side here, right? So that ID fits the shaft here perfect. But this OD, believe it or not, is the exact same size as the back of the Godzilla. That's crazy. So the other thing I don't know is the alignment in and out. So hopefully that will fit perfectly in that hole. And that's like brilliant. They're kind of like made for one another. All right, let's blow that off and get modifying. Well, unfortunately, this could be the end of this project right here. That does not look good. Look at that, how much of that flange. Assuming where the starter is, I don't have the starter, so before maybe I call it completely on this project. Look how much of that flange I'm gonna have to cut off. Like it's, and also the depth. It looks like there's some sort of oil pressure sensor back here. So maybe I could rotate that, but yeah, this is gonna be a problem. I need to get the starter in to see how big this actually is. Shit. All right, so this thing was bothering me all night, right? And I came out this morning, in the wee hours of the morning, I woke up in a sweat, and I'm like, oh, I'll just change the bell housing. I'll just change the starter bolt pattern, right? Because getting the starter from the 2-bolt to fit in there, I think is gonna be a bit of a nightmare, right? So why don't I just get a separator plate from a modular. That'll give me the location for the starter bolts, right? And then I mount that to this, and then I cut this flange off, right? And I get a modular bell housing, cut off the starter area, and then weld it to this, right? Works for me. I'm a machinist, that's what I do, right? It's no problem. I can make that work, I can get the alignment spot on. It's just gotta find some more parts and carry on. That's usually how I do things up here. So I start Marketplace, look for a modular bell housing, no dice. I jump on Speedway Motors, I'm a dealer for them. Nope, no dice. Then I'd look at Jegs, and I'm going through the different bell housings, right? Just scroll, and I see this one bell housing. I'm gonna talk about it before I see it. It's a QuickTime bell housing, Ford Modular 4.6, 5.4, and Coyote, right? I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds good. Because what I'm thinking about doing is, if I can get a whole bell housing, I can cut this piece off. But also, if I get a complete bell housing that'll fit that, see this is only like maybe 4 inches here, I can cut off another bell housing and weld a flange to it, right? And then I can just put the whole bell housing and bolt it right onto the front of the ZF, right? Great, but catch my breath, I'm talking too fast. Anyway, find this, check this out, this is unbelievable. QuickTime bell housing. Look at that, right there. Transmission, ZF transaxle, Pantera GT40. That bell housing will bolt that Godzilla directly to the ZF. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Why am I even going through this? I didn't even know that thing existed. I couldn't imagine anybody bolting a Coyote or a Godzilla to a Pantera. Why don't I know this? I didn't think anybody would be doing that, but of course somebody's already got an adapter kit. Anyway, so that being said, I'm gonna call Jegs today and get this thing ordered. All right, it's a cold one in the shop this morning, but I'm so excited about getting that bell housing in from Jegs. Hopefully it all works out. There is a couple problems here though, like the picture itself of that bell housing, although it's definitely the modular bolt pattern there, the bolt flange that it looks like it holds the actual transaxle to the bell housing doesn't look like the same bolt pattern. So this is a type 2 trans, and it's got a whole bunch of holes around the outside. I'm hoping things just work out, and maybe that's like a stock file image for all the bell housings or something, I don't know. We'll see. It's a bit of a gamble, but that would really just speed everything up. I don't have to modify anything, it just bolts those two together and done. So fingers crossed that works out. This whole episode is going to be mounting the engine and training in there. I'm not going to wait for that thing to come in because who knows how long it's going to take. But let's keep going on this thing. So the next episode was probably going to be straightening the body on this one. So let's have a good look at what we got to do here to this car. It's become a shelf because it's got a lot of flat surfaces. As soon as I put the hood up, I wasn't packing so much stuff on the trunk, so that's fine, but it all ended up on the roof and the hood now. So let's clean this thing up and we'll have another good look at it. But what we do need to do is fix the bent body. You can see there's that, it's like a 2-inch gap there. And this door right now is adjusted all the way up as far as I can get it. And you can see there's a bit of the gap here at the top is much tighter than the gap at the bottom up toward the front fender. So I think what I'm going to do on both doors is leveling that, or putting it in the middle of a range of adjustment so that door gap looks good on both sides. I'll level the car off on the front because, you know, across the window or what have you, maybe even the back of the doors, make sure they're both at the same height. The back of the car is all buggered anyway. So I think it got bent from people moving it around because the front is bent up. And you can see, or maybe the back's bent up, I don't know. But there's dents right here at the front of the bottom of the A-pillar. So it tells me something's been pushed down or this has come up, right? But there are rockers in it. And when I had the doors not bolted to the hinges, just closed, it was actually, it looked pretty good. So it's like it's bent like a rhombus, right? Like the rocker and the roof were held in place and the whole thing just went up. So I don't really know how to bend that back down yet, but I think the first plan here is to do something easy, like in front of the toe board where there is still some good structure under the car there. We'll put like, you know, a 2x6 with a couple of jacks under it. I'll drill some holes in the ground and anchor the front of the car to the ground. And then we'll jack up the back, take the jack stands out and just let it hang and see what happens. Because it is quite rusty. It might bend down on its own. Maybe we can bounce on the back of it. And if that doesn't work, we'll just start cutting stuff out. The monocoque here, the center tunnel, isn't attached to the rockers on the sides anymore. It is attached to all this. Well, you see we actually had to weld all this rebar in here because it had collapsed on itself. So we can cut all that stuff out. You see this inner fender here is on a good angle here, but that one has been pushed way up, right? So the body's down or that's up, it's bent. So if I can level the doors off, weld or, you know, support the front door post, anchor the front down, I'm hoping we can push down on the back of this and maybe get this thing to move because the quarters are super floppy. So that's going to work for me rebending it. And if that doesn't work, I think we'll cut the monocoque out of this thing completely, let the back hang. If it still doesn't bend or move where I want it, then I'll cut the rockers off and force it down. And then once I have a good door gap there, I'll push it down and I'll weld the doors to the quarters and hold that all in place and then start welding bars all over it to hold it where I want it to be. I think that's about all I can do, really. I mean, I got to save the body. It's worth it. But really, all I want out of this whole car are the skins. I'm not worried about any of this inner structure at all because I'll build it all new. Anything that's pooched all across the back here will get replaced. You can see where it's all been patched everywhere. There's patches on patches in this car all over the place. So all this stuff will come out anyway. So I don't care about any of it. I just need those door gaps to be right. Like same thing on that side, right? So it's kind of bent equally. They moved it around to the Bobcat, etc. So I don't really know how forceful they moved it. Like the rear wheels were seized, so even picking up and dragging and pushing it probably would have bent this thing because it's so weak. But let's blow all this stuff off and have another good look at it. Yeah, so she's in rough shape, but it's cool still, and it's still worth it and all that, but I'm missing a lot of parts as well. If you're, look at these, I even got, if they save things like this, the radiator, deflector, left and right? So obviously there's no rad. Actually, I had the rad, but I chucked it. Wasn't going to use it anyway. I don't know what this bar is, but see the way they put the bolts back in there? It tells me this car was complete and they were saving it at one time, but all the parts just got lost. That looks like the headlight motor, but like I said, I'm probably not going to be using it, although it is operative here. Oh, that's where it connects. It goes down here. Yeah, and this is clearly all bent to smithereens here. Anyway, it's all fixable, no big deal. Hey, but if you happen to have a few extra Pantera parts and you're watching this video, I need a grill. I need a grill. Well, I need some windshield wiper arms, need a headlight bucket. I need all the chrome trim. I'm missing every stitch of the stainless that goes around here. I have one of these for the passenger side. I need another one for the driver's side. Where is it? I got that. I found this in the trunk, which I guess goes right there. So I got that piece, but now I need another one for the other side. So I'm gonna have to do some parts hunting for all this. But oh, if you need some rims or some brake parts, I got some Mint brakes, all OG, and suspension and brake components. I'll trade you for some of this stuff. So also now that this is open, I get to see what's going on here and understand what the floor of that frunk is going to look like. I want to see if I can recycle that whole pedal box assembly. I'm probably going to lose the vacuum brakes because I have a bunch of extra Hydro Boost assemblies and the power steering's right there. So why not, you know, join the two together and have all the brakes? Probably not even going to, like, I could make another headlight bucket for this side. That's fine, but I might not use these because I really like the idea of putting the headlights in this area here, cutting that open. Yeah, but this is gonna need some rework anyway down here, so we'll figure that out as we get there. Either way, a little more cleared off. Unfortunately, the window's busted, so I gotta find some more glass. See all the cracks through it. They're available. Same thing with the door glass. I don't have the door glass. As you know, I don't have any of the door guts. So I gotta buy all that new right from the strikers on up to the latches and everything, all the little rods, the works. I'm gonna do some door repairs there, and some mirrors. How about that? I did get the quarter glass though. I'm kind of happy with that. I got the rear quarter and the front quarter, but again, I'm missing the glass run channels that go all the way up and down. So that's going to be a major parts order to the Pantera shops in the States. But already looks better, all the crap off of it. So wait till Dan gets here. He can help me lift that thing off. And then, yeah, we'll have another look-see at it and see what, if anything, I can weld to, or attach a chain to the ground here. Maybe this, yeah, it's looking pretty solid. I can probably weld something to this and anchor it to the ground and then start prying. Yeah, let's do that. You know what's unbelievable is the condition of this dash still. I guess the Italians make shit cars. It's a good car, but you know, the metalwork and nothing's painted on the inside, so et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? It's just old school. I get it. It's not a shit car, it's just old tech, right? But the dash, the leather dash is like still perfect. It's been sitting outside for how many years? Hasn't cracked, no splits in the seams. It's tight, but for the most part, it's still there and complete. I kind of don't want to wreck this dash for the new build and the new way we're doing it with the hoop in there, but maybe I can just recover it in like Alcantara or something like that. That'd be pretty sick, I think. The steering wheel, however, that's another story. I might make a wheel for this car, actually. Yeah. Anyway, so strip the car out pretty good. I'm going to pull the dash out today and stuff like that, but already this is looking better. And I'll tell you what we did. I literally put the jack stands under the rear suspension point there and then leaned on the front. We're literally bouncing on it. I'll get some B-roll of the door gap closing as I'm bouncing on the front end there, pivoting on the front. It's quite amazing, actually. And then, but this door here is still off, but basically what I got, the car is zero. So across here, it's leveled out, it's completely zero. Across the top of the doors, or the top of the windshield, it's zero. I just put some spacers here to pick up the body line. Right there, it's zero. And at this point, it's zero. And at this point, it's zero. So the car is level this way now, which is great. It's actually, it's bendable. But on this side, check it out. As soon as we were leaning on that side, boom, this door closes perfect now. It's even got a pretty good gap. It's really good here on the front end, but you can see on the back edge, this isn't parallel here. So I'm not 100% sure. This is pretty tight. It's actually usable. I can deal with this, but this proximity, you see it's rotten here, right? It's almost like I need to hit this thing back somehow. But I'll take a look at some pictures of other Panteras and check out this door gap just to make sure it is parallel. And I got a really good gap all the way across here. So that's usable. I can bend this up a little bit and nail this down a little bit tighter, and that's part of what I'll end up doing. But the other side, it's still a bit tweaked. So, but if the car is 0 all the way across this way, I don't think I have to bend this doorpost anymore. I still have yet to, but there's nothing on the front for me to measure because it's all bent there to make sure it's 0, left or right. But this one, it's still hanging down a little bit. In fact, it's hitting right there. So this one here has dropped down a bit, but what I'm not sure is if this door has been tweaked as well, because this door is also rotten across the top here. All through here it's rotten. I might swap it out for the other one, but if this piece here is bent, that's going to interfere there before it hits down here. So I'm going to try the other door that I have on this side first, and then we'll see if it's a problem. If not, we'll just keep modifying stuff till we get this sorted out. But basically I have the car jacked up here to level this part of the trunk out. This part here is shrunk down, and we could see that before because this one's on a nice angle here, but this one's been punched up. So this one body's been pushed down, whatever's going on here. You can see it's all been crumpled up in there, etc. It's kind of amazing actually that the outer skin is in perfect shape. I mean, perfect for Canada, but the inside's all rotten. So this lip here, you see where all the spot welds are, it's actually in really good shape, but everything below it is toast. So this lip will all be coming off and that'll all be getting rebuilt anyway. And I think this side is still, this angle between here and the top is a little bit off, but we're working on that one too. But let's time lapse getting some of the dash out, the steering column. Let's strip out the front suspension. Let's get rid of all this stuff today. I really want to make a wheel for this thing, I think. Something that looks period, but slightly modern. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Well, crud. I got an email this morning from Jeg saying the part is on back order and won't be ready until April 29th from the manufacturer, and then in however long it takes to get here from wherever it's being shipped from. I have no idea. So I'm not going to come up with a plan B yet. I'm still going to rely on that back order to come in, but we've got a lot to do in the meantime anyway, so let's get going on that, or let's keep going on that body because it's a mess and there's lots to do on that thing. So let's get those doors fitting better while we wait. So Dan and I are going to bounce on the front of this thing and see if we can get this door post to come up a little bit and see what happens. Oh shit, this one almost... Because even if it's too high, I need to adjust that one down, so... Yeah, it's perfect. This has just got to come up a 1/4 inch now. Way better. So, I think we've got the doors lined up. You saw Dan and I bouncing on the front of it there. So the doors are actually lining up just great. You got a pretty good gap. Obviously that one's all mangled on the bottom anyway. There's nothing there, so that's all got to come off. The rocker's all been punched in, etc. So I'm not too worried about that. But right now, this is the only thing we have to go by. In Canada, when we're dealing with so much rot, you can't go by the bottom, you can't go by door gaps, you just go by body line. So now that that's lined up, you can see on the top edge here, that one gets a little tight. Let me just for my knee there. Gets a little tight here. So I'm not too worried about this right now. And you can see how this isn't parallel here either. So not sure what that's gonna be, but I could literally cut this or undo the spot welds and pull that down and open that gap up, and that would tighten this one up. So, but I won't touch that until the glass comes in. But right now, both doors are closing as they should. So I think now's the time. Let's walk to the other side. So everything is 0 as well. The back of the car is 0, the roof is 0, the cowl is 0, the top of the windshield is all 0, and this door is closing perfectly as well. But the same thing, you can see it's a good gap there, and it starts to get a little bit tighter right there. And this one here tapers, and I'm sure these are supposed to be parallel. So might just, again, these are doors from another car. I don't know how these things were made, if these were all matched to the car or what, but I might just undo the spot welds, pull that down a little bit, open that gap up, and tighten this one up. But again, I won't touch that till the glass comes in. But now I think I'll clean up the front edge, weld the door to the car, weld this spot to the car, pull the lower quarters out. The other one's actually really bad. I'll show you this one. So again, weld the doors to the car in the front, weld the back edge to the door, and then I'll actually have to pull this one out to get that body line to line up there. And then the doors are now a structural member, so now I can start cutting everything else out of the back of the car and get ready to support it. The problem is there's nothing here. So once I cut all this out, like I would just weld some X's and some crossbars in there, but there's nothing to weld to. So I'll have to use the doors on the inside as the X across to the other door to hold the quarters and everything in place. And then maybe I can, I don't know, there's still a lot of good outer sheet metal, so I can just weld across and pick up some other points and whatnot. Yeah. So you can see the level of rot in the front there. Awesome. I'll have to rebuild all that. So much to do in this thing. But I'm happy the body is not as bent now. So let's get welding these doors in, and then we'll see what we got to do next. Starting to look like a car again. I love it. Look at those sexy body lines. Yeah. Anyway, so I got the doors welded to the body. Lots of lead in this car. Everywhere this thing's covered in lead. I guess that's how they got the gaps right perfect anyway. So the doors are now a structural member. I put a cross brace in there. It's actually welded to the doors because there's nothing left on the doorpost to weld to. Yeah, so that's in. Everything here is structurally sound. Quarters are back in, being held in place, and that is in its flop deck now. So got the engine hood on here. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on to the back end before I put a cross brace in this. But I need to get this square all the way across and line up this body line, and then I can lay it down and see what's going on here. It looks like the whole rear of the body's it went over this way a little bit. You see the gap on that side. The gap on the top, it's a little bit wider over there still, so I got to move the trunk lid that way a little bit, square it up, get the body lines cool, but I can't move it over because it's touching on this side and it's got a gap on this side. So you can see it's tightening up there, and on this one it's opening up over there. So I got to bend this back end this way a little bit, just get the jack in there and move it over, make sure it fits. Then I'll weld a cross brace in there, and you can see on this side there's a bit of it's maybe like a bit of a step there, maybe about just under a 1/4 inch, and on this side it's about a 1/2 inch. So the hood checks out. This angle on that angle, in reference to this plane, seems to be the same. So I think the problem is definitely in the quarter. I mean, this side's been hit. Who knows what's going on here? But I'll stick the jack under here and just push this whole area out, so that will then be square with that one as well. And I'll have to do the same thing on that side. So lots of work still here to do, but I'm close. And after that's done, then I can cut everything from the bottom of this thing out. And yeah, you can see, get a better look now. The door is welded in place. This gap tapers down here. It's almost touching here, and it's got a good gap here. So I'll probably end up doing some work to this, either bringing that whole assembly down, tightening that up. But I mean, that part is the only part I can tell that's got an okay gap, and the front gap's fine. So looks better, right? So much better. And look at the way that curve now from the trunk line there, or the engine hood. Looks so much better. Sexy car. Let's keep going. Don't judge me. This is horrible. I know, I see it, believe me. But I need a way to open and close this because the hinges on the other side are rotten. The hinges here on the actual lid, but the hinge mount is toast. And now that I've got it sucked up with the tie downs and aligned and the gap is right with these pieces of angle here, I need a way of opening and closing it over and over again while I adjust the bottom end. And as horrible as this is, it's the only way I can think to do it. So I'm actually going to weld this hinge to the car and to the end of the lid, and then take this off so I can open and close it. And then I can just knock these pins out and then take it off when I need to, and then put it back on later until the other hinge, where is it? Hanging, you'll see it right there. It is there. Yeah, you probably can't see it, but the hinges are there, and I'll make mounts for those once I get the hoop in for the not only the upper seat belt, but also it'll pick up the roof and the hinge on the inside. So it's ugly, it'll clean off, I know, but don't judge me. I think I know what I'm doing. All right, well, it's mounted. Good or bad, it's mounted. So now we can sort of tell what's gonna happen on these corners. I know this one hits because I can't actually close it. Let me show you. Just take out that block. So that comes down, you can see how it's hitting there, and it doesn't hit anywhere near there. So let's see if we can pry this back end over and put it where we need it, because that gap is perfect. And this needs to line up. So I wonder if I should take some, like, before I actually get into committing this, maybe it's just the upper gap. Like, I'm basing everything on that gap up there. Maybe I should take some, like, X coordinates, I gotta get my finger out of your home. And I can talk about it. Okay. That's definitely a two-handed thing. All right. So maybe before I commit to that layout and bending the body this way to accommodate for the trunk lid, maybe I should just do like an X and make sure that the trunk lid is actually square and it's not just I'm basing everything on this gap. You know what I mean? Probably should have done that a minute ago. Either way, let's pull some measurements to confirm, and then we'll make another plan. So yes, it's off. It's a two-handed thing here, but pull that up there. Get it aligned on the doorpost. So this one is pretty much at 86 bang on to that point. And then on the other side, let that hang. Pain. This one is pretty much at just under 87, 86 and like 7/8-ish to that point again. So I think that's pretty clear indicator that the body is over this way a little bit, because now we've got two confirmations, right? The deck lid hitting that side, and now the measurements on the X to the doorpost saying it's over that way a little bit. So it needs to come this way, about a 1/2 inch-ish, right? But to move that, I think we're gonna end up having to cut all this inner structure out, because it's not gonna move willingly with everything here attached to the bottom to the chassis. So I guess we're gonna have to cut all this stuff out now. So let's remove all this, and then maybe I can just, probably it'll be so loose at that time, I can just pull it. And then we'll weld another bar from this corner maybe up to the X in the upper doorpost, and we'll do the same on this side. And then lock that in from wiggling. And then once that's locked in, then I can push this part here out, because this part here is well below this grade, about a 1/2 inch below. So I'll have to take this corner and just put another jack down there and push this body section out, and then get it level with this, and then weld it to the X brace we're gonna put in there, and the same on the other side. So, and then the car will be square, and then we'll be almost ready for transport. Well, that's a mess. Everything is completely cut out now. And in fact, as soon as I cut the last bar here, the whole thing went pop and it moved over the way I actually need it to go. So I'm gonna keep cleaning this up. I cut the front end. I could actually drag this whole thing out. The problem is with all this jack set up holding the body up, I can't actually remove that center section at the moment. Looks like I'll have to cut those cross braces off because they're gonna hang up on the rockers right now as well. So before I can drop that thing completely to the ground and pull it out, I'm gonna have to support this body better than just using the jacks and some 2x4s. What a mess. But I guess I'll just chip away at it and get it done, and then I can start closing the lid and securing that up. Whew. What a mess that was getting it out. There's not a lot of structure left in this thing. I did cut it there and there, but it broke in half here, and these wings are just barely hanging on there right now, so it was toast anyway, which also created a heck of a lot of space. So at one point when I was dragging out the rear suspension out the side, I was at this little bit here, hooked on the side of the rear quarter and knocked the body over, and I just reached out and caught it. And I was like, oh crap, what do I do? And I just gently pushed it back and it stayed there. And then I got the other jacks back under, taking the weight off, but that was a bit of a oh crap moment. So, all right, lots of cleanup to do. I'm gonna have to think of a better support system than a couple of 2x4s and a couple of jacks, especially when I try to get that thing around there. Whew. All right, let's clean up and start bracing. So I got the rear suspension all cut apart there, literally in 2 halves. There's no way I'm gonna throw this stuff out. I know how unobtainium brakes are for these things, and for sure there's somebody out there who needs a good set of brakes. Although rusty, these have never been cut. And it's kind of funny, there's just like a 1/2 inch worth of solid rotor that they use on these things, and then the brakes. I mean, they're good cores if you want to rebuild the calipers probably, but these things can be easily resurfaced. I'm sure there's lots of meat left on these things. And you know, I don't know if somebody's got a crashed one and looking for control arms, but these things are pretty mint. Yeah, hit me up, let me know. I'm not gonna chuck them. Same thing with the front end. I got a complete front end as well. I'll pull that out in a minute too. See if I can wedge myself in there with this jack. Moving. Oh, I feel pretty good. Oh, looks a lot better. Yes. Sweet. All right, same thing this side. Let's see if she moves. Oh yeah. Another pump. Yeah. Much better. So now all the gaps are beautiful. The doors are held in place. We still got this back panel, looks like it's pushed in because this isn't level how it should be, but we'll deal with that when we get there. Yeah, everything looks great. Let me open the deck lid here. This is super sketch. Got to watch this copper tube. A couple times I've knocked it and I've just braced for impact because that's just bouncing on that edge there. But you see, so now I got an X across the back to hold it this way where it needs to be, and I got the supports after jacking up those sides, and I just put another brace to hold it apart. So now everything's held in place. I've got a lift point when I use the chain hoist to lift the body up to the ceiling, and that's all secure. So now I've got to move to the front. Cutting this out's kind of got me wondering how to do this, because I need to remove the front suspension, but if I remove these inner braces, there's nothing holding the front of the car up from flopping here. So right now this very poorly repaired arch is the only thing that's going to be holding it up. So I'm kind of thinking I'm going to cut just above or just below that radius there, and that'll allow me to, or allow it to have some structure. This bar travels underneath the fender there, and there's a plate in there, so I think I can keep that part separate. And the front suspension actually is attached to this wall here, so I think I'm just going to cut from pretty much here across, down, and off. And I don't know how that's going to be hacked apart, but since I'm out of acetylene now, it's going to be all done with a Sawzall. So let's time lapse some of that and get this front end down. Say that's it. Yep. That is it. And that's what you get from a traditional Canadian classic car. Not much left. So all the suspension's been cut out. Not much left in there now. It's actually really floppy. I don't know if you can see that when I move the fender up and down. This part here is staying and everything else is flexing around it. So there's not a lot of weight here, but there's obviously no structure here. There's just a little bit of structure left in there, but that'll get cut out anyway. I'm not worried about it. I just want this to really hang here for now. I think the end, what I'll end up doing is removing all the spot welds off the fenders. And once I have the main cabin mounted to the chassis over there, I'll end up pulling these fenders off, because I have to rebuild everything underneath the door post or underneath the fenders anyway, including the outside of the door post. So this will all come off, and then I'll repair all this when the time comes. But right now, I've got a crossbar across the bottom of the doors, which I can actually use to lift with the chain hoist when I hoist this thing up to the ceiling. So I think that's pretty much it. So what is the next step? I'm not going to cross brace any of this. This can free hang. Everything else in there is done. So maybe that's it. Maybe this is the end of this episode. We've gotten everything out that we need to, and we're kind of getting ready to lift this thing up and get it to the next position on hanging from the roof, basically. And then drag that whole table over to where the roof hoist will be, and then start lowering the body on top of it while we're waiting for the, let me move my chainsaw. We just had an ice storm rip through here and took down a bunch of trees, so I was up chainsawing all weekend. So While we're waiting for the engine parts to come in, so I can mate those two together, I can't do anything about that right now. So I might as well get ready for the next stage of mounting that body to the chassis. That's super exciting. I'm really looking forward to that. So I guess that's it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next episode. If you know anybody that needs any suspension components from original Pantera, including steering rack or rotors or calipers or whatever, this stuff is unobtainable. Pass the word around to your Pantera friends. So that's it. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Ciao.